Questions for reflection. In our first reading, we hear of the false prophecy of Hananiah and the consequences of purporting to, quote, speak for the Lord, while you do not have the word of the Lord. Jeremiah, a true prophet, had warned Judah of the judgment which had come upon them. But this false prophet gave a contrary message, and he faced the consequences. Prophets played a vital role in the history of salvation, in both the Old and New Testaments. But they had to be truly called and speak the Lord's words and not their own. An early first Christian instruction book, first century, called the Didache, the Teaching of the 12, warned of false prophets. The gift of prophecy continues in and through the church. In fact, at our baptism, all of us were commissioned to participate in the continuing threefold ministry of Jesus as priest, prophet, and king. Of course, we do that differently in accordance with our state in life and vocation. We must always be careful to discern whether those purporting to speak for the Lord speak true words. And we should always make sure that we study His Word, read the Catechism, and pray, so that when we speak, we also speak what is true. In the psalm response, David prays a prayer we should make our own, and I quote, "Keep me far from the way of deceit. Grant me the grace of your law. Do not deprive me of that faithful word, since my hope lies in your judgments." The only way we can be kept far from deceit and receive the grace we need is through developing a consistent prayer life and participating in the sacraments, especially the sacrament which we can receive daily, the Holy Eucharist. When was the last time we went to Holy Mass and received Holy Communion outside of our Sunday obligation? The gospel appointed for today is one of Matthew's accounts of the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes. The disciples, thinking with an economic scarcity mindset, wanted to send them away. Jesus, in his sacred humanity, was moved with compassion. He asked the disciples what they had, and notice the faithless response. The root of the English word for compassion means to suffer with. Jesus entered into the need of the crowd. He also understood and lived in the economy of heavenly scale, not scarcity. And the question he asks of all of us today is, will we? Jesus asked the disciples a simple question. What do you have? The disciples had been invited to participate in God's work by simply giving what they had in a holy exchange. And when they finally did, Jesus used the matter given by men, 5 loaves and 2 fish, to manifest the manna of heaven. And he still does that for everyone who enters into the ongoing miracle of living by faith. We are invited to live the multiplication of the loaves and the fish in our own lives on a daily basis. We can live our lives in the economy of heavenly scale. Jesus simply asks us to take the goods which we have been given, whether they be financial, spiritual, practical, relational, or gifts entrusted to us, and place them in His holy hands. They are all gifts we received and are now gifts to be given. There, in the hands of the risen Christ, they will be multiplied and given back to us to feed the crowds, always with more than enough left over to provide for every one of our own needs.